Happy Friday, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to the Friday video series. This is the planning video series. If you're a regular watcher, thank you so much for being here. Please continue to come back. If you're new to this video, this is the Friday planning video. We'll hit on a few planning items every week and hope that they can help us when we do our regular meetings and reviews. If you haven't yet, consider trying out our Tuesday market update videos. That's a series that's going to keep us up on the market moves, and it's even we're going to talk a little bit about some of the news items that we're going to continue to watch from week to week. This month of April is Financial Literacy Month, so I'm going to try to bring some extra special planning information to you this month. There's so much going on right now. I want to try to keep these videos short, so I may add some extra content to my YouTube channel, which is currently under construction, so stay tuned and keep an eye out for that. Just as a reminder as we get started, April 15th is almost upon us. We are working with you and your tax advisors to get everything taken care of for your 2020 tax returns. If you need anything from us, let us know. Tax file. We're working also to get 2021 and beyond a very tax efficient plan for you. So tax filing deadline and IRA contribution deadline for this year was actually moved from April 15th to May 17. So certainly that'll be here before we know it. Remember, we don't give tax advice, but we will work with you and your tax advisor to set your investments up and your financial plans up so that you get to keep as much money as you can. Remember, it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. Speaking of taxes, let's talk about what is probably one of the top risks to this economic recovery end of the market, the potential tax increases. We know that we'll have to pay for the nearly $30 trillion in U.S. debt some way and someday. So we're probably going to see higher taxes. And so where will those come from? So far, we've seen some ideas from the president. I'm going to bring you 10 ideas, 10 things you should know about the proposal. Please, let's talk directly about how you can adjust your financial plan so that we can get this designed the best for you individually. These are all proposed. Nothing is done in Washington until the 11th hour, but here we go. So before we get into the individual stuff, just note, keep an eye out for where the talk goes on the corporate tax rate. Remember, under the prior administration, the corporate tax rate was lowered. We saw a pretty direct relationship to corporate earnings. We saw those earnings go up. And as the Biden administration is going to bring the rate back up somewhat, we're going to see the opposite effect. I do think that the robust growth that we have in the country right now is going to offset most of that, but we'll just have to see how that comes about. So again, we'll keep talking about the corporate tax rate and other corporate proposals and how it'll affect the market, but let's get back to focusing on you and your financial plan. Although the individual tax items have not yet been released, here are 10 major changes that might come along, and how we can address them is what we should be discussing. So number one, the top ordinary tax rate is being discussed now for incomes over $400,000 and moved from 37% to 39.6%. We can discuss ways to keep more of your income away from that line. Remember, we've talked in the past, donor-advised funds, tax-free bonds, retirement contributions, so things like that we'll continue to talk about. Number two, elimination of the stepped-up cost basis at death. This comes up every time we talk about tax reform. I don't think it'll get passed, but if we do, there's going to be a lot of planning that we'll need to do for that. Basically, remember, what this means is that the death of the account holder currently, the cost basis of the holdings now, that will step up to the date of death, which allows the appreciated stock to pass on to your heirs without tax liability. It's a big deal, and planning opportunities will be huge if this thing passes. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Number three, replacing the deduction for retirement account contributions with a flat credit. Now, again, don't have a ton of information on this, but it will bring about some interesting plans as what we do going forward. Number four, increase in long-term capital gains rates on income over $1 million from 20%, which is the current long-term capital gain rate, to 39.6%. Again, this will take some real action on our parts for the planning side, so we're going to watch this one very, very closely. Number five, the unified gift and estate tax exemption amounts are going to go estimated from $11.5 million per person almost to $3.5 million per person. This will make many more of you into the taxable estate category, so it is something we'll keep an eye on. Before I make this video too long, I'm going to put the rest of these items into a new video, either as a supplement video or just maybe next Friday, so stay tuned. What you can see is that every one of just the top 5 of these things will open up the door for some major changes in how we plan to meet your goals. Remember, we're not going to let the tax tail wag the planning dog. But we cannot ignore these major planning opportunities. We'll engage with you as we get more information. Very, very important. As I conclude this first planning video of Financial Literacy Month, let me give you 3 ideas for 2021. We'll use these when we meet. We've already probably talked about a lot of them. Number 1, consider rebalancing. We know that market sectors don't move up altogether. As I've mentioned in the last couple of Tuesday videos, energy, for example, was a laggard last year. It's the leader this year, or one of the leaders this year. The opposite is true for many of the tech giants. They were the winners all last year, and they've been underperforming somewhat this year. So we'll consider rebalancing to put that back in line. Number 2, have a plan. This is what we talk about all of the time. If we've not discussed what changes we're making for 2021 as the year goes on, call us. Let's talk about that. We need to discuss that. Number 3, calibrate active risk. This is all about knowing what we own and actively allocating properly to manage our risk levels. Again, very, very important stuff that we'll work on going through 2021. As always, we'll keep reminding you to keep your eye on the ball. Long-term goals. We'll measure ourselves against those long-term goals regularly. The world seems to be reopening, and we hope that they'll be back to some sense of normal soon. But for now, embrace abnormal with a little less anxiety, hopefully. So don't forget, IRA contribution deadline is May 17th this year. So if you haven't made your 2020 IRA contributions, let's talk about that. Let's see if we can do that before May 17th. Otherwise, have a great week. Stay safe. Stay in touch.